one. Race one, love one, people one. Too many things that's causing one to forget about the main cause.
Hello everyone and welcome to Evolutionary Entrepreneurs 2015. I'm so excited to be here with you. My name's Sage Levine for those of you that don't know me, and we are here evolving your business while you evolve your clients and your students so that you can also evolve yourself and evolve the world. And I'm here with Panache Desai. Hello, Panache.
Hi, Sage. It's great to be here with you.
I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you for helping me kick off this series. Panache and I were in Ashland, Oregon last summer when I actually first thought about launching this program for you. And we are off and running. I actually truly believe that every single one of you is meant to be here, that we each followed an evolutionary impulse within ourselves that brought us all together here for this series. And we're launching 3 days of live streamed video trainings to bring you as much information, inspiration, and wisdom to help you really maximize your impact and your income this year so that you can get about the business of doing your good work on the planet and really get out of your own way. I'm so thrilled to be here with every single speaker. Each speaker really will build on each other, and all of you contribute to the energy soup that we're creating here. So I recommend you don't miss an interview, and I encourage you all to get to know each other on the Facebook page. So there's a thread right underneath us. You'll see, you can click on it and go introduce yourselves and get to know each other, because your presence matters here. And I'm going to be on the Facebook page in between interviews with you. And my incredible operations goddess, Shannon Fisher, is going to be on there chatting you up and answering any questions you have. And really, our tribe, the tribe that gathers here, as you heard on the song that introed us, the one tribe that we are creating as we step into really birthing purposeful businesses on the planet, attracts just the most incredible souls. So get to know each other. Let us know what you do, who you are, and what you need next in your business so that we can really create some good networking here. I encourage you to use the thread as a little bit of a note-taking guide. So when you hear Panache or any of our other speakers just say something incredibly wise, jot it down on the Facebook page so that we can all learn from each other and capture those pearls of wisdom. Again, this is the first day of a 3-day series, so mark your calendars for the next 3 days from 11 to 1:15 Pacific. We might go over by a few minutes. And really, I want to take the time to introduce Panache in the way that he deserves to be introduced. For those of you that don't know Panache Desai, he's a contemporary thought leader on the planet. He's bringing a message of love to thousands of people around the world. He is not aligned with any particular religion or spiritual tradition. He empowers people to really free themselves from the pain and the suffering, the sadness that's really blocking them from living their incredible, true life that they're meant to live on the planet. And he had a really powerful transformational experience about a decade ago. And since then, it has brought him further into, Panache, I believe, the teacher that you now have become today. I know you've been on Oprah, you've been on spoken on stages like the Omega Institute, the Kripalu Center for Yoga, the United Nations Enlightenment Society, and that you've collaborated and shared stages with Reverend Michael Beckwith, Brian Weiss, Ram Dass, Alan Cohen, James Redfield, Neil Donald Walsh. You've been all over the place. I know you published your first book last year, Panache. You're an incredible father, you're a family man and a spiritual teacher, and you're a damn smart businessman. And so that's one of the reasons I invited you to be here, to really help us bridge the worlds of spirituality and business, which is really what this program is all about. With no further ado, thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy to be here with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Sage. It's an honor to kick off this season and in some ways lay the vibrational blueprint and foundation for everything that's about to happen. So I'm honored to be here with you and with everyone that's tuning in from around the world.
So Panache, we're living at this time where the world is in a state of crisis in many areas. Global warming, homelessness, the hunger crisis. There's so much happening that we as empathic leaders really take on and carry, and we feel it. And yet we also know there's more potential and possibility than ever before. The journey to enlightenment, I believe, is shorter. With the onset of the internet and technology, we can get our message out to audiences in a relatively quick amount of time. How do we build businesses and stay grounded in our spiritual path and our spiritual method in 2015? Like, how do we build a business that honors both?
Well, the first thing I think is to set up an important distinction, and that's between a career and a calling. So for me, I answered a calling. And that calling was something profound within me that wanted to be expressed in the world, that only I could deliver, that only this vessel could bring forth. And so when you set, on a journey of answering a calling, it's a journey of mystery. It's a journey of the unknown. It's a journey where all of a sudden you have synchronicity and connection that brings you to something else that naturally helps you further express who you are. Connections occur. Love that's been shared before is remembered, and that creates a greater synergy, and that allows for collaboration in a deeper way than you could ever imagine. And so I think to kick off this season of 2015, don't have a career, have a calling. Have something that is so profoundly rooted in who you authentically are that you can't not do it. That even if you try to avoid doing it, it still happens in spite of you. The second thing, Sage, is that as we moved into 2015, 2015 is a year of mastering the material world, or what I've lovingly come to call doing the harmonious hustle. And for me, there's one golden rule or one core value that I apply in every single piece of decision making and every choice that I make. And that is that I will not compromise my sense of peace and inner harmony for anything external. Because I've come to realize that the external pursuit really is meaningless, that success as defined by society is an empty promise, and that to strive for that is actually to strive for another source of suffering. And so it's time this year, of all years, to have a calling, to move towards something deeper and to allow that to be your guide and to not compromise your peace, your health, your relationships, your relationship with you, your love, your abundance, and all that you are in this pursuit of the external. What I've actually discovered is that the more we live in alignment with our inner world and the more we live in a place of connection or harmony or peace, the more the external begins to take off in ways that I can't even begin to describe in words.
You're speaking to something I really wanted to speak to on this series, which is building a business from a place of being. For those of you that aren't as familiar with my work, I realized I didn't really introduce myself. I work with women around the world to help them build businesses. We've helped thousands of women around the globe build purpose-based businesses. And I find that as soon as my clients start learning the business strategy, sometimes they begin to leave essential parts of themselves behind and almost substitute the strategy for the beingness. And it's my clients that are really able to keep a firm hold on who they are in the world, their heart and their soul, and just use the tools as merely tools, that their businesses just start exploding very, very quickly. Can you speak a little bit more to how we can stay in touch with what you're speaking to, this eternal essence, and not compromise the core of who we are as we build our businesses?
I think a really good touchstone that we all have access to is peace. And what I've discovered is that peace is actually the experience of our enlightenment, that everyone that's watching this is enlightened. It's just that we don't allow ourselves to access that reality or that experience. And so what you can do is just begin to connect with your breath. And if anything at all, just observe your inhalation and exhalation, because what that does is firmly anchors you in a state of peace. I'm not the most brilliant strategist in the world. I'm not the most brilliant operations person. I'm not the best marketing person. I'm not the best CEO that you could ever imagine. However, what I am good at is remaining connected to who I am. And what I found is that the more that happens, Sage, the more people who are experts in those fields show up to contribute, because they sense the integrity and the authenticity of what's being shared, and they want to be a part of it. And so living in this state of peace and living in this state of connection allows us to access this domain of fulfillment, a place that kind of already exists within us, that is already everything that we're trying to achieve through our business. So, for example, what I've discovered is that love is already present. I've discovered that abundance is already present. I've discovered that everything that really needs to unfold in the course of our life is already present. And the more, again, we can remain peaceful, because peace is powerful this year, make no mistake. the more peaceful you are, and the more in harmony you are with yourself, the more the people who have those skill sets will show up to support you, and they will be brilliant, and they will be seasoned veterans in those fields, and they will lovingly support you in every possible way because they sense and feel the integrity and authenticity of who you are and why you're on this earth.
It's so beautifully said. You're so eloquent. I could just listen to you all day. I know we only have about 40 minutes with you, so I want to know more. I want to hear you talk about, and I feel like those listening are in complete agreement with you, and yet there's still a question of, okay, so what's the difference between me remaining at peace with myself and then going up against the edge of my comfort zone to sort of put myself out into the world in a way that I'm doing as I build my business, because it doesn't always feel peaceful to take those big risks. So can you speak to that difference?
Yeah, so it's not about modifying your external world to have a false sense of internal peace, but it's about remaining calm in the midst of, everything that's happening in your business and in your greater life. And that is entirely possible. And so all of a sudden you may have a deadline that all of a sudden appears, or something might happen, or a financial shortfall that you need to cover in a month, or a marketing deadline, or all of a sudden there's a wonderful opportunity to collaborate with somebody, and yet you haven't really thought through the particulars of what that collaboration looks like. So life is going to happen. What I'm talking about is how we respond to life as it's happening. And what I've discovered actually, Sage, is that now Fortune 500 CEOs are coming out of the closet as meditators. And actually what they're doing is attributing the fact that they meditate as being the sole reason as to why they're successful and why they're able to navigate the corporate world. And so now corporate America is beginning to tap into this philosophy that connection is primary, that people are not just resources, but people are actually embodiments of something greater. They represent greater possibilities. And the more we nurture them, and the more we nurture ourselves, and the more we foster that culture, especially in a business, especially in a corporate environment, the more all of a sudden everything begins to ripple down and trickle down until there's no longer a lot of the shortfall or inefficiency that most companies or businesses or entrepreneurs experience. And so what we're really sharing with you right from the get-go is the real secret, is that most people get involved in business to compensate for some perceived inadequacy that they have, thinking that the business is going to fill that void. When I reach X amount of people on my mailing list, all of a sudden life is going to become peaceful, or I'm going to be happy. When I receive X amount of dollars a year, I'm finally going to be at peace. When I reach a certain stage or a certain platform, or my book becomes a New York Times bestseller, then I'll be qualified, then I'll be able to relax, then I'll be able to let go. And what I'm saying is that it's important that you just enjoy the ride as you're navigating through every phase of this. Because when I first embarked on this adventure, I didn't set out on it to be famous or successful. I just had something in me that I had to express. And I had to express it because I couldn't keep it in me anymore. And the more I expressed it, and the more I did it from a place of connection, the more everything just seemingly accelerated in a very short period of time. I went from living rooms to Oprah in the space of 3 or 4 years without a book. And that's unheard of. Everyone that's on Super Soul Sunday is there with a book. And I was probably the only person in the history of Super Soul Sunday that sat next to her without a book or without anything to sell. And so this is a testament to the power of living a life of connection and experiencing who we are and having that be the most important driving factor. Of course, the other thing is that success often comes at a cost or a price. And it comes at a cost or a price because, for the most part, people are pursuing it because they're afraid. And it's fear that's driving that. So then all of a sudden relationships suffer, or you don't have time for your children, or your health suffers. It's like something has to give. Because you're pushing and you're striving and you're attaining instead of allowing. And so this being-based business foundation is key to navigating the entrepreneurial landscape in the vibrational world. And it's important that you use the inner barometer as the most important barometer of your success. Because I firmly believe the more you are able to anchor yourself in this place of connection, the more everything else will sort itself out. And again, you'll be able to ride the waves of ups and downs. You'll be able to ride the waves and the graphs and all the metrics that come in and all the data that comes in. You'll be able to ride all of the waves because it's not always going to be hunky-dory. And it's not always going to be the way you want. But in short order, you realize that it's only ever the way it needs to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you said something I feel like is the heart of your share, which is when you know you have a message. And you are aligned with bringing that message, you know you just have to bring it in whatever form it comes out, whether it's imperfect, whether you stumble over your words, whether you don't say it exactly the way you thought you would the first time. It's like when we know we have a message for the world and we just are willing to share it, and I started my friends' living rooms as well. You know, I started leading workshops down the street at the community center, at the day spa that my friend owns. It's like I just wanted to tell people what I was discovering, and it didn't even matter where it went. It's grown into $1 million company, and it started from that same place of just feeling like I had something to say. For those of us that are watching that don't always even know exactly what we want to say, we just know that we have something to say, where do we begin?
Well, I think you have to look at your life's journey so far and look at every experience that you've had, because no experience that we've had is ever wasted. You know, when I look back at my life, there was always this core of spirituality, but for the most part, I denied it. I didn't want any part of it. Like, I just wanted to be normal. And at a certain point in my life, I pursued a career in music. And I was on stages with thousands of people, you know, performing, emceeing, you know, DJing, I mean, the whole thing. We had pirate radio stations. So I've always been illegally broadcasting. You know, I've always been flying in the face of what exists and being disruptive. And so naturally, when it came to the spiritual expression, I've continued to be disruptive, and I still continue to illegally broadcast this message of love that has the power to transform the world. And so you just have to look back at your life, and you just have to look at pivotal moments in your evolution and put them together, because what you'll see is a great synchronicity. And again, you don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to be, you know, Ivy League educated. It doesn't matter what your race or gender or nationality is. It doesn't matter whether you have a penny to your name. You just have to be willing to go on that adventure and to embark on that adventure and to go beyond your comfort zone, because that, in truth, is where what you're looking for resides. And again, the more you're willing to do that, the more everything and everyone that you need will show up to support you in the most incredible ways. And all you have to do then is navigate your own sense of unworthiness and your own insecurities to allow them to support you, because we as human beings are hardwired for collaboration. And the more we get over ourselves and the more we go beyond our own guilt and shame and we allow, all of a sudden a whole world of collaboration opens up. You know, one of my inspirations is Richard Branson. I love the fact that he started with a record company and then all of a sudden, you know, had the cojones to venture out into airlines and now mobile phones and banking. And so your entrepreneurial journey can actually become your evolutionary journey. But you have to be willing to dare and to risk and to go for it and to understand in truth that you can't mess it up. That when there's something in you that is so powerful that it wants to be expressed, it may take you into other genres. It may take you into other disciplines. But just as you receive the same support in that field that you're in, the right support will show up to help you build the brand, to build the recognition, and to further the reach of your expression through these other outlets.
I love what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more that it's an evolutionary journey of entrepreneurship, and that so often the idea that we need to know exactly what we have to say or want to say in the beginning actually will slow us down. I like to teach my clients that clarity comes from taking action and not the other way around. And I feel like that's exactly what you're sharing, is that because we are evolutionary, the whole purpose of an entrepreneurial spiritual journey is that we can build something that allows us to evolve, and that our message right now is good enough, and that we don't have to be the smartest, most perfect person, that we are at a place in the evolution of humanity where we can just start where we are, and that as we step into our leadership, the message will evolve as our students evolve, and it becomes a part of the co-creation of what entrepreneurship can be. You spoke to the collaborative nature that allows us to really thrive, that we thrive in collaboration. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, I wouldn't be here today without my team. I wouldn't be here today without their dedication and their commitment and their willingness to just go above and beyond because of their belief in me and this message. And, you know, I've been very fortunate to find people who are multidisciplinary, who have had lots of different careers, who have this career progression that was in somewhat ordinary and corporate until they met me. And then all of a sudden they become, you know, multidisciplined and are able to apply all of that in a way that's very unique and very creative. And I think that, speaking to what you said, creating a business is actually no different than painting a painting or recording a piece of music. I think that, in creating a business, it's really your landscape. It's really, what you want to do. It's the hues that you want to use. And I think that sometimes people forget that. In creating businesses, actually what you're doing is making a piece of art. And that piece of art in and of itself self-perpetuates and then draws to it people who are in alignment with it. And so the other thing to remember is that when you focus on a niche area, you're more likely to be expressing your uniqueness, and you're more likely to be making an impact than when you're just painting in broad kind of general strokes. So don't be afraid to have your own unique voice. Don't be afraid to express yourself in a way that is apparently just you, because that's why you're here. And ultimately, at that point, you're aligning with something more powerful, and then the support shows up, the team arrives, the people with the skill sets will show up, the money will come, everything will come. But as a side effect of your willingness to remain profoundly connected to what's real and what's true.
When you speak, I feel the consistency of your message, and you spoke to don't be afraid to choose a niche area. And I really want to tease that out a little bit for those listeners who feel like they don't quite fit into some of the traditional niches or the traditional marketing messages. The entrepreneurs who are here that are sort of bigger than the box, outside of the box in who they are. And one of the things I've noticed about my clients is that even those sort of spiritual mentors, it's still essential to sort of find a core message within the sort of spirituality that you want to bring to people. And Panache, I see that your message is consistent. It's always about connecting back to source. It's always about connecting back to ourselves. Can you speak to that aspect of congruency in putting yourself out into the world that does become attractive when we're able to sort of hone in? I don't want to use strategic marketing to limit ourselves, and yet there's something useful about knowing that consistency of message builds integrity of brand and allows people to invest in themselves through our services.
Well, your business expression has to align with your core values. And for me, those core values were created from personal experience. And so I'm in an American spiritual landscape where a lot of the pursuit of enlightenment and becoming in abundance is all externalized. However, there's a part of me that's Indian that was steeped in this knowing that actually what we're talking about is an energy that's infinite and that's already within us. And so my message and my expression is 100% disruptive to the American spiritual landscape. Because it isn't about the perpetuation of products and services and teachings and workshops and seminars, but it's actually about delivering the complete promise of transformation in and of itself to where you don't need anyone to fulfill that role anymore. And so for me, the core value that, that I express is self-empowerment, that people really, we're alive at a point where people really need to be empowered in themselves and get off this hamster wheel of transformation and becoming so that they can begin to realize that they are. And so everything began for me from that place, especially being Indian, because I had a heightened level of skepticism around spirituality, around spiritual teachers, and around what was being shared. Because for me, I could see through them. I could see vibrationally where people were coming from. And I could begin to see that not everyone was motivated from this really loving place where they just wanted to authentically contribute. And so what's happened, Sage, is that we're in a marketplace or a landscape where, and I'm going to liken it to the music business. When somebody used to put out a record, they used to put out a record because it was their art form. It was an expression of their soul. It was something that they needed to get out into the world. However, what happened was, as the music business became $1 billion industry, all of a sudden people jumped on that bandwagon to become famous and to become wealthy. And you can tell the difference. And it's the same in the spiritual landscape. People had profound experiences and then felt compelled to share them. And now people see it as a business and an opportunity, and they're solely engaging in it for the fame and the money. And so that's why for me it was so important to just remain true to who I am, remain true to my roots, and consistently deliver that message so that we end the dependency and so that we end the illusion of transformation in and of itself, because it is an illusion. Because we're only ever striving to become who we already are, and that's the joke of it, right? And that's the irony of it. And there has to come a point in our lives where we finally just become good enough for ourselves. So the spiritual function in and of itself is initially to know ourselves as more than just a body and a mind. That's it. Once you know yourself as your soul, then at that point, you have a different level of identification, and you have a platform to begin to disassociate with your story and to begin to disassociate with the inner narrative that's been running your life and the fear that's been running your life. You get to a place where you start to tap into soulful qualities of abundance, of love, of fulfillment, and you begin to source your entire expression from somewhere else. And it's not from a place of need. It's not from a place of deficiency or wanting, but it's from a place of love and just fullness of heart that you just express. And people can feel the difference. They can feel the energy behind what you're saying in a deeper way. Because it's not just a book a year. It's not just a workshop a year. It's not just, a seminar that, you feel is going to generate the most amount of opt-ins. That's not it. It's about delivering, first and foremost, something that is integrous to who you are, that allows people to connect to the integrity with who they already are. And so it's been wonderful for me because I've been 100% disruptive, and not everybody likes it, but I'm very polarizing, and I love that. And that's how I know that I'm remaining true to myself. And again, it's like a piece of artwork, when it's beautiful and created from a transcendent place, is going to polarize.
Yeah. And
that's what I mean by focusing on a niche. Because when I look at the spiritual landscape, and when I look at what's happening in the name of transformation and new thought movement, what I'm seeing in truth is that the main function of it is missing. And if I can deliver that function, then we can actually begin to then end the separation in people, and then we can begin to end the separation in the world. Because for me, the climate change, political inequality, all of this, multinational corporate, corruption and the governing, all of this stuff collapses once the separation within us ends. And so pick a soul focus. Don't be afraid. Be laser-like. Fine-tune it. And it might fly in the face of what everyone else is already saying. And if that's true, even better.
Even better.
Even better.
I agree.
Go for it. Have the courage to go for it and express all that you are.
Yep.
And rattle some cages.
Yep.
And upset the status quo and turn over the apple cart, because that will guarantee you a fast track to something that is beyond what already exists.
I couldn't agree more. That taking a bold stand is so magnetic. And yes, you will absolutely attract some people who are naysayers and some resistors. And you know what? If you're not attracting any of those people, you're probably not taking a bold enough stand anyway. And Madonna used to say, what was it? The more people judge you, the more money you make. She's out there with her little cone boobs. Just to not be afraid. I think that's what held me back for a couple of years, was like, oh my gosh, what are my friends going to think? They're going to think I'm so salesy. They're going to think I'm, just like out there trying to prove something. And finally, I woke up one day and I realized I don't care. It's more painful to sit with this message inside of me for women who should be making money than it is to piss off my friends. And that was the day that everything turned around, right? We put our stake in the ground and we say, it's more painful to sit on this message than it is to find out what's going to happen if I just bring it. And I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit more, Panache, to that journey of continuing to bring your message in the face of, I know you've had controversy. I know you've had people that have just outright completely stood in opposition to you. How has that been?
Well, I don't care. And so there's a lot of freedom in not caring. And I just want to, preface that by saying that not caring is not having an attachment to somebody liking you. Right. It's not seeking their approval. Right. It's just fully being who you are. Yeah. And that's freedom for me. Like, I know who I am. I know where my heart is. I know where I'm sharing from. Yeah. And I also know that, in any moment where I deviate from that, my mother and my wife will put the smack down on me very quickly. And so, I'm not worried. And so at that point, I don't care. It's not about me finding external approval. But what I've discovered is that actually my message fundamentally confronts other people's limitations. And if they are in a place of fear at all, it will absolutely bring it up. And at that point, if they're conscious, they'll actually address it inside of themselves. But in most cases, they're unconscious, and in that, they'll have to reject me in the message to protect their sense of limitation, to protect where they're operating from. And that's fine. So I'm with Madonna. And it's about, being outrageous. It's about being polarizing. It's about, fully engaging in this world. Because as I look at the world at large, people who are authentically themselves have the biggest platforms, whether you agree with them or not.
Right.
And there are some doozies out there that have huge platforms that are outrageously successful that you wouldn't want to have lunch with ever in your life. But the truth is, because they're so out there, and because they're embodying what everybody really wants, which is to be free and to express, that attracts people. Be outrageous. Don't hold back. You've only got one life to live. I've always known that I only have had so many minutes and so many hours on this earth. And if I lived my life for approval, I wouldn't be here. There's no way that I could authentically deliver what it is that I've come here to deliver.
Yeah.
And actually, Sage, I'm going to tell you something. The more quote unquote successful I became, as defined by society, the smaller my circle became, and the more people fell away, because naturally envy, jealousy, comparison begins to emerge in people, and you begin to realize that you're very lucky if in the course of your life, when you get to a certain point in your career, or you hit that ceiling, which for me is just the pinnacle of this whole industry, at that point you're lucky if you have a handful of people that you can rely on and that you can count on to be there for you. And I'm very happy to say that I have. And so just know that, you being you is about unleashing all that you are, and that isn't about public opinion or approval. It's about rocking everyone's universe and fundamentally shaking their version of their status quo. And the more you do that, the more you will be elevated into the highest of heights, beyond anything that you could ever imagine.
I'm so glad you said that, Panache, because it's really true. And it was my biggest fear in going for it, in building my company. I could perceive the relationships that were going to fall away if I really brought myself in the way that I wanted to and reached the people that I wanted to reach. And the truth is that a lot of relationships have fallen away. And it's been painful and it's been liberating. And it's important for me to say that the relationships that have stuck around are 100 times stronger than I ever thought relationships could be. And the intimacy and the support that's going to be there for every single one of you when you really continue to stay true to your authentic message is, for me, the most profound teaching of all of this. In that if I had known how supported I would be, I wouldn't have been so afraid to keep going. And so I encourage every single one of you that might have that fear to know that you will be supported and that we're evolving. We literally are like evolving humanity together, and to stand as a pioneer on the edge of that boldness of message, the message that you need to bring that may rile some people up. That's what evolutionary impulse, that's what the divine is calling us into.
Yeah, it's like I'm that kind of scout, that goes over the hill to see how many cowboys are over the hill, and comes back and gets shot up and comes back. There's a lot of them over here, but it's like you have to have the courage to go over that hill,
right?
And to push boundaries and to press buttons and to begin to facilitate transformation, because you will. You see, the thing is, when you actually conduct yourself in an authentic way, you'll become catalytic.
Yeah.
And then your entire business becomes catalytic. Yeah. And you become disruptive without even trying. It's not this kind of immature teenage, disruption.
Right.
It's actually a mature level of conscious disruption that's rooted in love.
Yeah.
And whether people can receive that or not is based on their level of completion. It really doesn't have anything to do with you. Right. And so go for it. Like, just be outraged. Like, go for it. Yeah. And if you don't believe me, just have a look at people who are in the mainstream media who are polarizing, and have a look at how successful they are. And just imagine if you could unleash all that you are, how successful, how fulfilled, how turned on you would be, because you'd be doing it from a being-based perspective. That is dynamite.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Panache, the last question I have for you is, I find that so many of my clients and so many of the folks listening to this series are in their own personal transformation, just like you were and just like I was, as our message was coming through us. And so a part of our psyche, a part of our sort of solid grounding is actually, our part of our foundation might be crumbling as we birth this message as leaders, as evolutionary leaders, as evolutionary entrepreneurs on the planet. Can you share a little bit about the transformation you've been through? What happened to you 10 years ago? And how do we continue to bring that bold, unshakable message when we are feeling unsteady at times within ourselves because we're in our own personal transformation?
Well, I think that the personal transformation, first of all, is a continuum that never ends. And I found that the more honest I am, the easier it is. And so the price that you have to pay to reach a certain level in this reality is honesty, is a ruthlessness with yourself, the willingness to tell the truth about yourself to yourself. That's the first thing. For me, and for that reason, I couldn't be out here today unless I'd personally experienced what it is that I was sharing about. You know, my whole life I've been told that I was here to do something. Various Indian teachers and saints and sages had said I was a reincarnation of someone who was here to help facilitate the shift in consciousness, and I just thought they were crazy. Like, why on earth would God pick someone like me, right? So I got to a point in my life of frustration where I just said, all right, well, if I'm here to do something, then this thing called God needs to reveal itself to me, because unless it does, I'm not going to do it. Because I was very skeptical. So I'm the kind of person where if I haven't experienced it, it isn't true. I'm not going to take somebody else's word for it. And so the whole platform for me was born of an experience that I had of the divine. And that experience was one of just unconditional love. It was the most profound love you've ever experienced in your life, Sage. And there was no judgment. There was nothing I needed to become. I was just fully loved and embraced for who I was. In fact, I was being who I'd been created to be. And in that moment, that experience became the foundation for this message. And that's why it's so disruptive. Because ultimately, we have a conditional relationship with ourselves. And ultimately, what I'm saying is that we don't have to have a conditional relationship with ourselves. That this thing called judgment, we can begin to transform it. Just because everyone else is doing it, it doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's real. And the more we begin to accept who we are, and the more we begin to feel the underlying density or the heaviness that we've accumulated through the course of life and living, the more we begin to access the soulfulness that awaits us underneath. And so the experience became the foundation, and the experience then continues to be your teacher. It continues to be your guide. It continues to call you into yet more honesty and yet more connection. It calls you into creativity and innovation. See, the entrepreneurial journey is an entirely destructive journey. It will destroy everything about you that is false, and you have to let it. It's no different than the creative journey. In order to create something that is authentically you, you have to allow the process of creation to destroy everything that's false in you. And so for me, ever since I've embarked on this adventure, it's been a constant annihilation of that which is false within me. The only difference is I welcome it. I'm like that little scout going over the hill. It's like, okay, I'm here. Who's on the other side? Let's see. You know, and sometimes it's overwhelming because you do feel alone. Because you do feel sometimes that everyone else is having exactly the opposite conversation to you. You know, there are days where, you know, you feel like you're this island in this infinite world that is so committed to limitation, and yet you have to keep going. And for me, that experience, the vibration, the foundation, the truth of experience is the touchstone. And that's what allows everything to be consistent. That's what allows for innovation. That's what's going to allow me this year to diversify into other environments like fashion, like music, like film and television. It's going to allow me to expand into areas of philanthropy that I want to explore. It's going to allow this foundation of spirituality, or, you know, personal development, whatever you want to call it, to become something that's multinational and multidisciplinary. And I'm beyond excited, because for me, I'm just scratching the surface. And I can't wait to see what the rest of the year has to unfold and how this begins to evolve and transform, and how then that's then applied to facilitate the transformation of others.
I can't wait to keep watching you. I heard that you're getting into fashion. Are you going to design me some new spiritual garb?
Well, actually, I'm working on collaborations or joint ventures with existing fashion brands. And so we're going to see how that starts off, but I'd love to at some point have a clothing line and to get that out there, because for me, everything, again, is energy. And I think that ultimately, if we can feel good and we can engage with fabrics that are soft and nurturing and just make us feel like we're embraced, there's nothing better than that. So for me, now it's about, you know, I've basically come to the realization that I've reached the ceiling or the pinnacle of this genre. And now the only way I can go is to diversify outwards into other genres and to begin to panacheify other genres of life and living, until eventually we just create a complete lifestyle brand.
I love it. Let's panachify it all.
Yeah.
You know, I had that experience in the rainforest when I went there with Lynn, and you'll hear me talk about this on Lynn Twist's interview tomorrow, of just realizing how diverse our business portfolios can be. You know, being down in the rainforest and supporting the women of the jungle down there, I realized that by choosing business women as the women I want to support, spiritual business women, I wasn't leaving behind the parts of myself that want to journey down to the rainforest and lead yoga retreats in Bali and, you know, take my clients down to live with indigenous culture for a few weeks. It's all possible. And that was the moment when I really decided I wanted to put together a series that not only brought evolutionary business teachings, but a series that would help raise money for a passion that I absolutely am, like, I would die for. When I got to spend a few weeks with the indigenous people of Ecuador, I realized that the lungs of our planet need to be preserved. And I wanted to be a part of really helping that culture stay alive. And what really struck me by being with the Achuar people, they wake up every morning at 4 a.m. and they talk about their dreams together. And that's how they go about their day, is by using their dreams to guide their life. And they are not just here to use their own dreams to guide their lives, but they really believe they're holding down an intention to change the dream of the planet from one of power and consumption and materialism to one of sustainability and spiritual fulfillment and social justice. And when one of the women pulled me aside and told me the dream that she was holding for me and for the women that I worked with, I promised her that I'd put together this series. And so now, Panache, I'm talking to you, and we're here partly because we're raising money for the rainforest. And so I'd like to just take a moment and let you all know that we have already, the series is just beginning, this is day one, and we have already raised over $5,000 for the rainforest. And we're planning to double that by Friday. And when you donate to the rainforest, you're going to be helping the indigenous people of Ecuador get deeds to their land so that they can preserve the most biodiverse forest on the planet, the lungs of our planet, as well as the largest freshwater source on the planet. The Amazon River is the largest freshwater supply. And Panache is partly here, and Panache, as you guys all probably know, gets dozens of invitation, I can imagine, a week to be in front of people. And he's partly here because he believes in this cause as well. And Panache, thank you for your contribution, and thank you for the gift that you'll be giving everyone who donates to the rainforest. When you all donate just $25 to the rainforest, your $25 makes a big difference. And it goes to some of those projects that I was just mentioning, as well as supporting the women of the rainforest to give birth to healthy rainforest babies. And these women, I swear to God, Panache, they're amazing. They're so strong. They're going up against the oil companies head to head. You should meet some of these women. They call themselves the Jungle Mamas. And I know that you're gifting us one of your audios, and I listen to your audios, Panache, every week. I can't tell you how much deeper my own spiritual practice has gone since having access to your teachings. It's been an absolute light in my life, and I know that you're gifting one of these audios to those of us that donate to the rainforest. When you guys donate $25 to the rainforest, you'll get Panache's Journey of Connection. Panache, can you tell us just a little bit about that journey?
Our journey determines the quality and experience of our lives. And so there's a direct correlation between the degree to which we know ourselves as our soul, and that part of us that's transcendent, and the degree to which we're able to master the material world. And so the journey of connection is a wonderful opportunity to connect with who you are at the deepest level and to source your life from that place, and to begin to birth evolutionary entrepreneurship from that place, to begin to birth your relationships from that place, your abundance from that place, your health and vitality from that place. For me, it's the core linchpin of how we begin to bring all that we are into the world. And so that's really what I wanted to offer this community, because what you're doing in truth is sustaining that connection for future generations through sustaining the rainforest. But what I wanted to do is more than just have an external donation to that, to allow you to contribute to the inner connection, to that inner rainforest, to that inner plentitude, to that inner dimension and biosphere that is self-sustaining and self-nourishing.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. every single word that you speak just like is relaxing to my nervous system. I aspire to be able to channel my own words in such alignment as I continue to evolve my business. It's been an absolute joy to be here with you for the last 45 minutes or so, Panache. We are going to be right back with you with one of Panache's dear friends, Neil Donald Walsh, who's next. And I can't wait to interview Neil. I'm super excited. I'm excited to be here with every single one of you. And after Neil is going to be Brett Gregory. And Brett is an incredible social media expert who is a spiritual teacher in his own right. And so today is a day of incredible men bringing you really the spiritual connection around your message. And by the end of the day, we're going to be getting you some tools to actually bring your message into the world through the form of social media. And tomorrow we'll be back with the evolutionary women of our series, Rika Zimmerman, Jennifer McLean, and Lynn Twist. And then on Friday, we'll be back with Ocean Robbins, Stephen Dinan, and myself to talk evolutionary strategy. And so I absolutely encourage you guys to grab a cup of tea, take a short break. We'll be back in just a minute with Neil Donald Walsh. Panache, what is it that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
That your business is an extension of your soul, and that your soul's true purpose and calling is to remind everyone of their own transcendent nature. Allow all that you do to be that reminder and to spark that awareness and remembrance in the hearts of all that you meet and touch, because that's why you're here. In truth, your work is the excuse through which the divine gets to love its creation. Be that excuse. Give your consent. Give yourself the permission to be that brilliant.
I just want to echo that. Panache and I are behind you, and so is every speaker on this series. And the courage that you invoke as you move forward is a collective courage. And I really acknowledge every single one of you that has posted on the Facebook page. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and vulnerability. There's some really beautiful posts over there. Thank you, thank you. We'll be back in a moment. Your business is an extension of your soul. We'll be back in Neil Donald Walsh. And until then, just thank you for being here and for prioritizing your gift for the world. Bye, Panache. I'll see you guys in a minute.
Bye.
We want people. We all want people. Want people. Want people. Want people. One tribe, one kind, one planet, one race, one love, one people, one. Too many things that's causing one to forget about the main cause.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I just wanted to take a minute and share with you why we put this series together and really acknowledge you all. We have already raised $5,000 for the rainforest. Woohoo! What an incredible interview with Panache. It really left me speechless. Wasn't it amazing? We're going to bring on Neil Donald Walsh in just a few minutes. But I wanted to take this short moment and say, awesome. We've already raised $5,000. The Achuar people of the rainforest are absolutely going to be so grateful for us. And I want to thank every single one of you that has contributed. And we're hoping to double that and raise $10,000 by Friday. So those of you that haven't donated yet, or those of you that would be willing to make another donation on behalf of the incredible tribal, indigenous people and the lungs of our planet, we're just ever so grateful. And I wanted to bring on Rebecca to just share with you a little bit about what we do at Conscious Women Entrepreneurs. Rebecca Snowball is the CEO of Vibrant Yoga Entrepreneurs. She's a client of mine. She came to me when she was wanting to take her incredible yoga wisdom and build an online company, and now she's reaching thousands of people around the world herself. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I want to say congratulations and wow, $5,000 already for the rainforest and her people. That is a huge accomplishment. And the Evolutionary Entrepreneurs series is making a big impact, helping conscious business owners around the world, inspiring them to grow their business and to really bring this piece of social entrepreneurship and help the rainforest. It's huge. So I'm so happy to be here. It's awesome.
Thank you so much for saying that. Really, the time is now. There's never been a better time to build an evolutionary business, a business that's evolving the planet as it's also evolving you and your clients. And I know that building a transformational business can sometimes feel like you're on shaky ground because you are in transformation as you're helping transform your clients. And that's why we're here to help you really ground into the beingness of your business so that you can absolutely make the money that you want to make and have the impact that you want to have this year. And what I'm going to invite you to look for in this series over the next 3 days is that 1 degree shift. That's all you need. So enjoy these interviews, take notes, absorb everything that the teachers are saying. These are the teachers, the spiritual teachers that helped me build $1 million company. These are the teachers that I've been listening to for the past 2.5 years to go from being a school teacher from Iowa to an entrepreneurial spiritual business coach living in Santa Cruz, California. These are the voices that have helped me anchor into my beingness and my message so much that I can't help but get it out into the world. And so I'm going to invite you to look for that 1 degree shift. With each interview, what's just the 1 degree shift that you need to make to get yourself out into the world in the next reiteration of your message? Because if you think about it, a ship leaving from the coast of the east coast of the United States, leaving from New York City, if that ship is headed for London and it changes its course by just 1 degree, by the time it gets to the other side of the ocean, it can end up in Africa. And so I know that the 1 degree shift that we can get you here on this series can affect the entire future of your business. It's that important, and it's why we want you to listen to and tune into every single interview.
And I want you all to know a little more about Sage. For those of you who don't know Sage Levine, she is a rock star business coach. She really combines the spiritual and business strategy so that you get all of who you are expressed in your message and who you are online, who you are in person. It's such a beautiful gift to combine the spiritual and the business strategy. And she teaches conscious women entrepreneurs how to reach 6 figures by working 12 days a month. It's really powerful, the strategy and the tools that that you teach women around the world. And it's very, very just inspiring to be a part of your tribe, to see the growth in my own business. I first took a course with you, as you know, online and learned how to grow my tribe. I now have over 3,000 people, yoga teachers, growing our businesses together, and I've doubled my income. So I know that this works, and what you teach is so powerful to empower others and to, again, inspire us to give back. So now I'm connected with Pachamama Alliance and giving back to the rainforest, and it's just so fulfilling.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here. It's been an absolute joy to watch you grow and to watch you go from, making a living as a yoga teacher to making a living in all these other ways and serving this whole tribe online yourself. It's just incredible as women to get to do it together, as you know. Some of you have been with me since the beginning. My very first online training that I did like this was called Women on Purpose, and it was about almost 4 years ago now that I first launched that. And during that interview series, I brought together 24 women and asked them all how they were able to make a living, living their purpose on the planet. And while I was doing those interviews, my marriage was falling apart. I was in the process of leaving a 10-year marriage, and I was in a tremendous amount of personal transformation and pain myself. And out of that came this $1 million company that's now serving thousands of women. And so for any of you that are in a personal transformation yourself, and you're wondering, is this really the time to launch a business? I want to be the voice of, it's the perfect time to launch a business that's transformational in nature, that's evolutionary in nature, because the impulse that's coming through you to bring about your own transformation is the impulse that's going to evolve the planet in the way that the planet and our clients and our students are actually ready to evolve. Now, why am I raising money for the rainforest? Well, it was Lynn Twist that actually got me through some of those really hard moments of not really knowing how I related to money and was I cut out to be a business owner. You're going to hear from her in our interview tomorrow. She'll tell you the story of Pachamama, but really Pachamama is a nonprofit organization that's seeking to create a socially just, spiritual, fulfilling, and sustainable world, a world that works for everyone, not just some people, not just the most wealthy 1%. And so really, Pachamama to me it translates as Mother Earth, and it's the thing that sustains us all. And really what I love about this organization is not only are they going down to support the rainforest and the indigenous people that live there, but they're actually bringing the wisdom of the indigenous people back to the West. And so they're bringing that desire that the indigenous people have to have us lead a more sustainable life back to the West. And that's what this is really about. It's about evolving our businesses, but building our businesses sustainably so that we can feel so in alignment and so in integrity with what we're doing. And so when you guys donate just $25 to the rainforest, we've had all of our speakers contribute some of their most valuable trainings to this rainforest grab bag. And when you donate, you're going to get evolutionary trainings from Stephen Dinan and the Shift Network. You're going to get the connection journey with Panache Desai. You're going to get a training called 31 Days to Prayer with Jennifer McLean, who launched Healing with the Masters that's reaching hundreds of thousands of people around the world. You're going to get an abundance activation with Rika Zimmerman. This is over $2,000 of trainings you'll get totally for free when you donate $25 to the rainforest. And along with that, you'll get 2 tickets to my Entrepreneurial Women Leadership Summit on the California coast. And this event is for women only, but this is the best way that I know for you women who have launched a business and you're still growing it, you're still finding your message, you're not quite sure what the next step is or how to reach more people, you're ready for the next chapter. This is the best way that I know to help you dial in your money mindset, learn my love-based launch strategies so that you can launch your business into the world and find all of the divine right clients that are looking for you, but in a way that's collaborative and feminine. Because when I can get you in the same room with me, I can give you all the business strategy in a container that really works for women to be able to absorb it.
And the Women's Leadership Summit is so powerful and just filled with content. You will be taking notes and have this wonderful content and tools and strategy to grow your business, and also connect with other women, conscious women entrepreneurs. And the spiritual element is so present, the connection, the heartfelt connection. I know for me, I was really struggling with the isolation that I felt as a solopreneur, even as a yoga teacher. And coming together in this group of over 150 women is just so profound, like-minded. You know, we really feel the support of each other. And what I love about the summit are the money shifts that we make, the mindset money shifts, and even practical. We set money goals. For me, I had a really personal shift with the father wound that I feel was related to money. And I'm set the intention in that weekend, I'm healing this wound. And I literally had a transformational
I remember.
I came out of there and I was different. I've been different ever since, getting my money on track, getting the money handled, and making more money in my business alongside of other women. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. You know, and it was actually at that retreat when I met the gal that got me this house. And I just think back to that, Rebecca. I was a school teacher in Iowa. I grew up with a cornfield in my backyard, and now I'm sitting here talking to all of you from my Ocean View home in Santa Cruz. Here, let me see if I can just show you guys real quick where I'm sitting, because, you know, for every single one of you that feels like you have a dream and you don't know if it's possible, I just want to be a voice of like, it's not only possible, but when you guys could maybe see my, you know, when you really are willing to get outside your comfort zone, which is what I'm going to talk about in my interview on Friday, everything that you're looking to experience is possible. I woke up and sat out on my porch. I watched the ocean. I said prayers to Mama Oshun, and I just said, thank you for giving me this day where I get to wake up and spend time with Panache Desai and Neil Donald Walsh and Rebecca Snowball. And I want that for every single one of you. You know, if you're not scared by your vision, you're not thinking big enough. And I just invite every single one of you to enter into this place of, you can do this. You're not alone. We're doing it together. And it was a woman I met at my first event that actually introduced me to the gal that got me this house, this ocean view home in Santa Cruz. So I absolutely am so excited to meet all of you that are going to come to the Women's Leadership Summit in March. And Rebecca's going to be there. She's excited to meet you too. And I just thank you, every one of you that's donating to the rainforest. Oh, and by the way, if you absolutely cannot make it to the Women's Leadership Summit live, we are going to stream part of it. So you can tap in from around the world and be with us for a couple of sections of it on a video stream. And again, you can donate at any time. It's just $25. And when you donate $25 to the rainforest, you get all of the free trainings I just talked about. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here and just for welcoming everybody with me and helping everybody really get launched on this evolutionary journey.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Sage, for hosting such a powerful event coming up in March. I am so excited to be there. Everyone have an amazing series. Take in these gems from these beautiful teachers. And I'll see a bunch of you on the coast in California at the Asilomar in March. Thank you so much.
Love you all. We'll be back in just a minute with Neil. Grab a blankie, grab a cup of tea, stay with us, and we'll be right back. Bye, you guys.
Bye.